Welcome to Strategy Saturday. I'm Charles Carillo, and today we're going to be discussing tenant screening questions. So, when screening potential tenants for your rental property, it's imperative that they complete a full evaluation, including a full background check, and that starts with them completing a rental application. This application lists their basic information, employment and income information, and financial and credit history. The application will have a section for the potential tenant to authorize a credit check and a background check. And the background check comprises of a credit check, a criminal check, and a sex offender check. Once the application is submitted, property managers can then review this information, verify their employment and income, and make their final decision. Now, tenant fraud is a real problem these days, so I would ask for some supporting documents, including copies of pay stubs and IDs, and possibly more if there's any type of red flag that comes up. But this is all pretty normal and straightforward. Several online services will handle most of this for you, and they usually will charge your tenant the fee directly, so it doesn't even cost the landlord anything. The main point of this episode is how to filter out less than ideal tenants from the beginning before they apply, or within the first minute on the phone with them, but hopefully before you even have to speak with them. So I self-managed my first portfolio of multifamily properties for 6 years before handing over my keys to a property manager, but for years afterward, I would be involved in the marketing of those units, and I would handle some incoming rental inquiries and calls myself or have an assistant of mine handle them. Since we did so much marketing, we were inundated with dozens, sometimes hundreds of leads within 1 to 2 weeks, and we needed a way of sorting through them so we could send only the best ones to our property manager's leasing agent. So why would I do this instead of having our manager handle everything from the marketing to the leasing, etc.? Our manager was very good at all property management tasks except marketing. They would put out one ad and wait for calls, and their fees were very reasonable, so we took a kind of hands-on approach when we needed units to be rented. Before we start, a disclaimer, ensure you understand your city and state's tenant laws and do not discriminate against or violate any protected classes. So how do you word your ad? Well, this is the first part of how we're going to filter out people. Wording your ad is very important. I always include all the rental requirements in the ad. How much income do they need? What deposits are required? What type of credit score and criminal history are allowed? And many will not read this, but those who actually want to live in your property will read it. And if they don't qualify, they usually will not waste their time in applying. So filter number 1 is that. Number 2, though, is with the ad, it is best to add near the end of the listing add a phrase that states, please acknowledge in your showing request that the property is not available until September 1st, for example, or that the property does not allow pets, or that they have read and agreed to the terms, or that they understand that tenants will pay for their own water usage. And any of these will work. And you can easily sift through showing requests and delete those that don't contain that phrase. And this is the second filter. Now, as a side note, I also use this tactic when creating virtual assistant listings. It filters out about 75% of applicants immediately. And when I've done any type of job hiring, it's something that we will put a note all the way at the bottom of the listing that says, don't apply through this platform, and it'll have directions for alternative ways of contacting us. When people do that, then without even having to check anything, that those people have read the ad, they've read the listing, they know exactly what's going on. And those are the people that you want in your properties and also to work for you. Now, bad tenants know they are bad, and they'll contact dozens of landlords trying to find one who doesn't know any better, never reading more than a couple sentences into any one listing. Good tenants will read the listing fully and several times. Now, when I'm searching for a property listings for a primary residence, I will read that listing several times and then send it to my wife for her to read. And that is the sign of someone who really wants to buy that property and really wants to stay at that property, whatever it might be. Those are the people you want at your property. You don't want someone that's going to read a couple sentences or just fires off 100 inquiries to try to find a place that will let them in. Now, what happens if they slip through the cracks or they call you immediately? So sometimes you might have your phone number in the listing. This is good. This could be bad. It really depends on what you like to do. It's great to filter them first and then try to get on a phone call with them after they're filtered, but you might avoid adding your phone number to the listing altogether. But I want to speak to them before I send them to the leasing agent. This is key. So getting on a call at some point is really important to us. Now, I will ask where they live now. If they have if they've driven by the property, that's super important as well, especially with C-class properties. You might find someone that's looking to stay in an area and they don't know the area and they really want to stay in a B-class property. And they're going to waste your time if they keep on, because they're going to talk to the leasing agent. They're going to go out there. Everything's going to be a waste, because when they get to the property, they drive around the property. They go, oh, no, 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 no. This isn't for us. We wanted this, a different area. So ask them where they live now and if they've driven by the property. And it really shows that they're getting moved up in the list if they've actually seen the property physically. And do they work in the area? Are they having an issue with their current landlord? When are they looking to move? Asking these questions and waiting for the tenant to speak for as long as they want will provide you with an accurate picture of this tenant. So that's filter number 3. If they sound good so far, review your leasing requirements with them on the phone and have them verbally agree. So do you understand that the required income is 3x of the monthly rent? The units for rent for $1,500. Do you make at least $4,500 a month? And can you provide pay stubs showing this? People will say yes or tell you a story, which will answer the question itself, which is filter number 4. Now, we have a minimum credit score of 650. Is your credit score over 650? Do you understand that no pets are allowed? Do you have a criminal record? These questions, ask them right away, and most people will tell you the truth and be honest with you. Usually people won't say, I don't have that. They'll give you some sort of a story, and you'll know right off the bat that if they don't say yes, then it's a check in the negative column for that. Now, you do not have to go through all these questions with every call, just until they unqualify themselves or you decide they are not the right fit. At that time, and this is key, I will confirm their name and phone number and tell them that the property manager will contact them to schedule a showing in the next 48 hours. It is much easier and quicker to tell them that you will call them back than explain why you have an instinct that they are not a good tenant. Okay, so that's the best way of doing it. And that's what I found over all the years is once you go through all the requirements, you'll find people that will fly right through those comments. They've read the ad. Now, the people, if you go through the filtering process like this, as I've stated, when you're talking to people on the phone, they're going to be more than likely going to be good tenants that you want to show the property to, right? If they've already read the ad and they've already put in that phrase or the term in there, they're most likely the ones that you want to be showing anyway. Getting on the phone with them is just 1 or 2 minutes. And this way, when you provide your leasing agent or whoever doing leasing, or if you're doing yourself, now what you can do is you add them onto the list. And usually what we would do is 1 or 2 showings a week, right? And we don't do it every time. We probably say, hey, we're going to show this property 3 to 5 on this day, or we're showing this property 4 to 6 on this day. Because if people are off by a little bit of time, then you can set them up by 15-minute increments, but people will come wherever they want, right? So it's easier just to, I set them up by 15 minutes, have them come. If people are late, people are early, it is what it is, right? Have a whole stack of applications, talk to people little by little. You'll have people that go in and go out. But knowing this up front, that people, only good tenants that have really gone through all of your processes are going to be the ones that are showing up is really the best way. So try to vet potential tenants by having them provide a phrase that's inserted into the end of your rental listing. This will remove at least 50% of the inquiries, upwards of 90% with some C-class properties, because people just don't read the listings. If you speak with them, confirm they meet the rental requirements individually. So every requirement, speak about it, ask them about it, and have them confirm it. If they don't confirm it, they're gone. Next is the tenants that make it through these filters are worth your time or your team's time to show the unit and accept an application. And I only send applications to potential tenants who have made it through the filters. I do not want to accept an application from a renter who does not have a very high chance of approval. Now, this is another important part as I close up here, because you might have people ask for an application or how they can apply. You don't want to be getting applications into people's hands that aren't really going to qualify. If someone tells you a story about their credit and then, the significant other has a felony from last year and all these things that might be red flags that you don't want to rent anybody for, these are things where I don't want them applying. I don't want them to have to pay an application fee, because at that point, it sounds like it's some sort of scam, right? I don't want people applying unless they have a very, very good chance of getting approved. And that's why when someone applies, when I manage myself, it would be like over a 90% approval rating on those applications, maybe even higher, because I just don't want people wasting their money. So this is a really important thing, because if someone comes back to you and goes, well, I told you about that. I told you that I had bad credit. I told you this. You might not remember everybody that came through. So now it's really, hey, tough luck. Sorry, I don't remember that. And sorry you wasted $100. Or it's now you feel bad and you have to give the money back. You know what I mean? So, which is probably something I would have done. So the key is once they don't get an application in their hands or a way to apply until you have checked off on all those boxes. I'll sometimes see it on some of these listing sites where they just send out links to people to spend money. You're just asking for problems with tenants, and it's not the way that I want to run my business. I want to speak to them. I want to go through the whole process with them. And when I know there's a very, very, very high chance of them getting approved, I will then provide them the application so that when I take that application fee, or the service that we're using takes that application fee, I know that they're not wasting their money. There's a very good chance that they're going to get approved. Now, these questions aim to comprehensively understand the applicant's background, financial stability, and the suitability for the rental property. To avoid discrimination, ensure your screening process complies with all local, state, and federal fair housing laws. Now, please remember to rate, review, subscribe, submit comments and potential show topics at globalinvestorspodcast.com. If you're interested in actively investing in real estate, please check out our courses and mentoring programs at syndicationsuperstars.com. That is syndicationsuperstars.com. Look forward to 2 more episodes next week. See you then. Have you always wanted to invest in real estate but didn't have the time, didn't know where to find the deals, couldn't get the funding, and didn't want tenants calling you? Since 2006, I've been buying income-producing properties in great locations that provide us with consistent passive income while we wait for appreciation in the future and take advantage of tax laws while we're waiting. And unlike your financial advisor, we invest alongside our investors in every property we purchase. Check out investwithharborside.com. If you like the idea of investing in real estate, if you like the idea of passive income, partner with us at investwithharborside.com. That's investwithharborside.com.
Nothing in this episode should be considered specific, personal, or professional advice. Any investment opportunities mentioned on this podcast are limited to accredited investors. Any investments will only be made with proper disclosure, subscription documentation, and are subject to all applicable laws. Please consult an appropriate tax, legal, real estate, financial, or business professional for individualized advice. Opinions of guests are their own. Information is not guaranteed. All investment strategies have the potential for profit or loss. The host is operating on behalf of Syndication Superstars, LLC exclusively.